Hi everyone, and a massive welcome to the third of the Christmas holiday specials here on InfoSec Live of the CISO Experience, where this week we get to engage with and learn from our industry's leaders in a live setting with open and honest conversations. For those that are new to the channel, my name's Simon Linstead. I'm the founder of the InfoSec Live community and also your host for this show. And by sharing stories and best practice over the last few months led to 27,000 views and 6,000 hours of our content being viewed on YouTube by our amazing subscribers. So a huge thank you for your engagement. And if you'd like to support the wider InfoSec Live community, or indeed buy me a decaf non-alcoholic festive drink, we do have a few ways that you can show your appreciation. The first is the ability to purchase super stickers in the YouTube chat if you'd like your question bumped up to the top, and 3 tiers of membership allowing you to show your support in any way which you can. A big thank you to Arto Kane for being our latest premium member, and a special shout out to Alana Boyajian for her very generous donation this week to the community. Thank you, Alana and Art. Your support really does mean a lot. But whether you join or not, being here and engaging with our content is what really matters. And if you're watching this live, please do like and subscribe. We do try to make these events as interactive as possible. So make sure you drop any questions in the chat. Make sure you mark them with a big Q, because I am nearly 50 and my eyesight's starting to deteriorate a little bit. And it's you, our audience, who make these events so special. And if you're watching on the replay, please still do drop your questions in. And what I'll do is I'll ask them on the next show. So before we bring on our guest, I want to just take a moment to thank our amazing show sponsor for helping us grow and provide even more free and engaging content this year. And for us, sponsorship is about partnering with the right organizations. And No Name Security, in my opinion, is the only company out there taking a complete proactive approach to API security. Working with 20% of the Fortune 500 and covering the entire API security scope across 3 pillars: posture management, runtime security, and API testing. They're backed by leading venture capital firms, including Lightspeed, Georgian, the Syndicate Group, ForgePoint, Next47, Insight Partners, and Cyberstarts, and have raised $220 million, which I feel like I should do this at that point, to achieve unicorn status after only 1 year out of stealth. And I think we'll all appreciate that really is some achievement. They're privately held, remote first, with headquarters in Silicon Valley and offices in Tel Aviv and Amsterdam. A link to find out more about how No Name Security can help your organization is in the comments. And also, if you're looking for work, make sure you check out their career pages. They are hiring at the moment as well. So thank you, No Name. Thank you for all of you who've already jumped in the chat as well. The big moment has arrived, and our guest today is a very, very exciting one indeed. Phil Abraham is the CEO and founder of CloudFace and Zerospace Labs, creating patent-pending world-class technology solutions for healthcare, cybersecurity, blockchain, and big data. A true visionary working to create cutting-edge NSA-approved technology solutions that solve big problems. Phil is supported by a long list of accomplishments ranging from creating one of the world's top supply chain management systems, Manugistics, to having the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to be hand-selected by Mr. Harry Pearce, the former vice chair of General Motors. That assignment led to the creation of a cloud solution that would migrate the entire global GM organization to the cloud, which also led to the creation of Covisint, which has since gone public. And Phil also led both Kmart and Walmart in implementing many of his cutting-edge ideas. The founder of Domino's Pizza, Mr. Tom Monahan, asked Phil to create a global technology platform that would be used to convince Bain Capital to purchase Domino's. And post 9/11, Phil was asked by the federal government to go deep inside the infrastructure and develop complex analytical tools that would ensure that large, complex organizations would stay safe. He enjoys being an adjunct professor at Eastern Michigan University, where he lectures on a wide variety of courses that include complex technologies and emerging new technologies. He's currently working to create the largest migration to the cloud, which will impact $3.8 trillion in US healthcare. I hope you're all as excited as I am, and with a bit of festive Christmas spirit, let's bring him on. Hey, Phil. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. What an intro. I mean, what a story. What a list of achievements. I mean, you and I have spoken now 2 or 3 times offline, and we've got a few things in common, right? We both collect children in a good way, as in we've got lots of children. That sounded awful. We've got lots of children ourselves. But where we do differ is in brain power. And I just want to start off by, I've given this background to the audience about where you've come from, but I know it hasn't quite been as easy and straightforward as that amazing intro sounds. Before we dig into what you're doing now, would you mind sharing a little bit about your own personal journey? Because for me, this is one of the most exciting parts of this chat.
Sure. I don't really know where to start. The there's an article out there. Maybe you can put it in the chat or something. It's called "From the Rafters to the Cloud,"
Yeah.
and that's a good starting point because it kind of recaps how I left home in 6th grade and I moved into the rafters of a garage, and that's where I lived. And later in life, I became an expert in the cloud. So the journalist called that article "From the Rafters to the Cloud." And it's written by D Business for Detroit, D Business Magazine.
It's in the
And
chat. I've just dropped it in.
yeah, it's a great article. It really is. My journey has been really, I don't even know why I'm smiling. It's been very
Because otherwise you cry, Phil.
yeah. I don't know if I should have a nervous breakdown or laugh, and it's too early to put some Di Serono into my coffee, but
It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon here. Mine's
yeah,
topped up. It's all right.
it's morning time in Michigan and cold.
Yeah.
So my journey, it's very interesting journey because I always had a hard time fitting in most of my life. Even though I had a lot of friends and I got along with people and all that stuff, but it was hard for me to fit in because I just absolutely, unequivocally refused to give in to either bad people, dysfunctional corporations, and certainly software that doesn't work. And so, luckily for me, I was able to invent things that just would destroy whatever got my pathway. But that caused problems. Excuse me. That caused problems for me. And one of the problems you'll see in Rafters to the Cloud, where many, many years ago, I moved the largest retailer in the world to the cloud. And I didn't know I was supposed to get permission first because there really wasn't a cloud yet. And at that young age, I didn't realize it was a I knew it was a publicly traded
And
company.
how old were you then, Phil?
18.
Wow.
Yeah. So I didn't know. So really, basically, there was no internet, and there definitely was no Google or Microsoft. And so I was really actually way ahead of Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and those guys, when you think about it, because Kmart was the largest retailer in the world by far. I mean, they were everything. And I went in and created this solution just on my own, goofing off. And I moved the entire company to the cloud. And I didn't know I was supposed to ask for permission. And I didn't realize that as a publicly traded company, they had there's legal obligations to the stockholders.
Yeah.
And I just thought, wow, look at this phenomenal invention. And boy, oh boy, did I get in trouble. Nowadays they would probably call me a terrorist or something, but back then nobody understood how what kind of disruption that you can do, right? And I kind of got yelled at for a while, and all the way from the chairman of the board. Yeah, I was an 18-year-old kid, and I'm wondering why the chairman of the board standing in my office.
Or you could, as Gareth in the chat said, some would call that trend setting, Phil.
Yeah. And by the way, when I ran away from home in 6th grade, this lady, after a couple of years, brought me into her house because she found out I was living in this unheated garage in Michigan, right? And she was she was a personal administrator for the chairman of the board. So when I was in 6th or 7th grade, she would take me to Kmart headquarters and ask the chairman of the board to babysit me while she did work. So here I am in the chairman of the board of the largest retailer in the world's office, and he was babysitting me. And cut to when I'm 18, now he's in my office. Same guy.
Shouting at you.
Screaming at me. I mean, they were out of their mind. because Wall Street, finance, bankers, nobody could find any of the accounting systems, the financials, the bank statements, the cash, the registry, all that stuff I moved. So they were, you got to remember, people had, the younger crowd won't even know this, but they had in and out baskets on everyone's desk.
Yeah.
In paper, out, right? And the whole company, everybody had 100 filing cabinets. I moved everything away, made it disappear. Pretty big stuff, right? So anyways, then things only got uglier from there. I didn't even realize, but a lot of cool things. I could talk for hours just on how the hell I got to where I was at, but I'd like to say this. I'd like to say that when I was working for Tom Monahan, okay, hang on 1 second. When I was working for Tom Monahan at Domino's, he gave me a assignment. He said, Phil, no one knows this. Well, first off, the vice president of finance called me in his office and said, hey, Phil, are you in trouble? And I said, no, why? All chipper and giddy and happy. My older brother was an attorney to this day, says there's something wrong with Phil. We haven't figured it out yet. And so the vice president, that's what my older brother says. But the vice president of finance says, are you in trouble? And I looked in his eyes. He was all afraid and nervous. And I go, no, why? And he said, well, Tom Monahan wants to see you. And he's a former Marine. And he built that company into a worldwide operation. And that guy was tough. I'm basically everybody's
for those that have just tuned in, you're talking about Tom Monahan from Domino's Pizzas.
Yeah. Phenomenal guy.
Yeah.
So tough as nails. So Monahan's tough, and I'm like a cupcake, and he's tough. Okay. So he calls me in there and says, Phil, no one knows this. Now, one thing he didn't know at the time, and neither did I was born with a birth defect. I can't keep a secret to save my life. And so I didn't know I had that birth defect. Monahan says to me, largest pizza company in the world. He says, I'm going to tell you a secret. And what I found out later in life, when you use the word secret in a sentence with me, and you'll hear later from me how the 3-letter agencies would use the word secret. I said, hey, I got to caution you guys. You guys keep using that word secret, and I won't even be out to my car in that parking lot, and I'm telling
on
everybody
the phone.
yeah, everybody. So be careful with what you tell me. So Monahan says, this is big stuff. He says, I'm going to sell this company. And nobody knows, just me and you. I'm thinking, you got to be kidding me. And he says, I want you to go take a year and go look at every software ever created in the world. I go, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Monahan. I'm just a really good supply chain guy. You picked the wrong guy for this assignment. And he said, oh no, you invented that world-class software called Manugistics, which is used by 90% of the world's food and retailers.
Do they still use it now, Phil?
Pardon me?
Is it still used now?
You know what? Here we are 100 years later. Okay. And believe it or not, just about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, Walmart is implementing Manugistics worldwide. And I invented that 112 years ago. Okay.
Or at least it feels like it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's the number one retailer, food retailer software in the world. Now it's owned by Panasonic. Okay. But, and I created that when I was 18. That was what I created at Kmart when I moved everything away from Kmart. So, but we called it KSM. I invented called it KSM for Kmart Schedule Manager. But I'm kind of getting off track now because, I've had 12 cups of coffee already. So anyways, so Monahan says, go look at every software in the world for the next year. And he goes, by the way, you still got to do your regular job. I go, okay. So me and this other guy, he says, I'm going to assign Danny to you, this other guy named Danny. And we looked at every software we could get our hands on. And I was horrified because I found out that all software is bad. I mean, really bad, like stupid bad. So I'm sitting there going, what the hell's going on in this world we live in? This software is all garbage. And it doesn't do what the salespeople are selling it to do. Of course, cut to today, every company, every military branch of the military, the government, everyone's being hacked. Oh, gee, I wonder why. Maybe it's because all that software is garbage, right? So I had to go into Monahan's office. He's getting ready to receive a check for $1 billion based on something from me. And I'm supposed to tell him which the banker said you got to implement a worldwide ERP software system. And it better work, Mr. Monahan, or we're not giving you this $1 billion. And I'm over there going, oh my God. And he's an ex-Marine and he's crazy and he's tough. So when I had to go deliver this message to him after a year, I said, come on, Dean, go talk to Monahan. And he goes, I ain't going there. He said, and matter of fact, Donald's headquarters is in this long, like mile building. And the closer you get to the one end of the building, the less people you see. And you walk down this hallway and you see less people and less people and less people. And I used to look around going, I wonder why there's nobody down here. Okay. So I walk into his office. He's sitting there, suit and tie, clean shaven, doesn't miss anything. He goes, so Phil, what's the answer? And I said, kind of nervously, I said, well, Mr. Monahan, I got some good news and bad news for you. And he said, what's that? And I said, well, I looked at every software in the world and I won't even recommend one. His face lit up. He started screaming and I thought he was going to jump over the table and beat me back into the Stone Age. And I said, I knew you were going to overreact. So I pulled out of my pocket, I made a short list of 4 names. I personally don't recommend them, but just so I can get out of your office safely, here's a list of 4. Pick one of those. And I basically ran down the hallway. And I called my advisor from undergrad that day. And I said, Dr. Westrom, who's a world-renowned expert in complex organizations, I said, I want to go to grad school. He said, what do you want to go to grad school for? I said, I want to do my thesis paper on running companies without software, eliminating IT departments, and making complex corporations disappear. And he said, well, okay, but no one really cares about that stuff. I said, oh, they're going to care. I can tell you that much. And when the whole world falls apart, they're going to care. So that's only kind of half the story. I don't know how long you want me to go on for. I can sit here
I could sit here and listen to this all day. They normally last an hour, but I've got nothing on this afternoon, and this is one of the most intriguing stories ever. So please carry on.
You know, I'm sitting at my desk at Domino's Pizza headquarters. Just got done with my beatdown from Monahan. Called my advisor in grad school. He said, "Yeah, that thesis will work." And I notice I have a voicemail on my phone, and I pick it up, and it's the secretary for the vice chairman of General Motors. And they say, hey, Mr. Pearce wants to see you. First she said, give me a call back, this, that, whatever. And I'll never forget this. And I'm thinking, you know, I live here in Detroit, so General Motors is like the big giant. It's like the Pentagon.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm thinking, why would they want to talk to me? And so she goes, he wants to see you in his office tomorrow morning. And I'm thinking, when is this going to end? You know, I'd love to have a normal. So I told my boss.
No, you wouldn't.
I said, told my boss, I'm going to be a little bit late for work in the morning. I have to. He goes, where do you got to go? I said, I got to go see the vice chairman of General Motors. He goes, no, really, where do you got to go? I said, yeah, I got to go see the vice chairman of General Motors. And so I walk into his office, and you know, that was another story, but I'll shorten it up. And he said, Phil, I want you to look at every process, practice, and procedure for every single job, every position, everything we do in the world for General Motors. I go, really? He said, yeah. He said, Wall Street's on our back because we're bringing in $200 billion a year, and at the end of the year, we lose money.
Yeah.
And they don't want us doing that anymore. So I want you to make the company disappear. That's what he said. And I thought, great, this is what I'm doing my thesis paper on. how perfect, right? And so, and I know I'm jumping around, but I want to squeeze a bunch of stuff in. After one of my lectures, I was teaching night school at the university. And I get done with one of my lectures, and some guy walks up to me. He says, "Hey, Phil, I'm from the Pentagon, and I'd like to meet you for breakfast tomorrow." And I go, so I'm thinking, I love breakfast. Okay. One of my favorite meals. So I'm thinking, yeah, I'd love. And he says, "We found a restaurant out by your house. Would you like to meet there?" I go, "God, boy, I would love it. And you found a restaurant by my house? This is great, you know?" And he says, "Yeah, we're very interested in what you're working on your thesis paper and making things disappear and everything. So we want to talk to you about this. And we want to talk to you about the banking system and the financial networks and how." And so I met with him, and that took me down a path of a deep dive into the banking system, the financial systems, and it brought awareness to me on really how awful what's going on with these hackers. And it's one thing to take a picture off your laptop, it's another thing to shut down Bank of America or something,
Yeah.
right? Very serious stuff. And so took me down that path, right? And then so then I thought I'd return to somewhat of a normal life, and the CEO of the largest Catholic healthcare in America calls me up, says, "I want to meet with you." I said, "Okay, sure."
Did he buy you breakfast?
No, but I'll tell you, this was something. He says, "I want to meet with you Saturday morning at this medical doctor's house, which was on this lake." And I didn't know that this guy's considered the #1 CEO of healthcare in America. I didn't know, because I was, big retailers, Gen Motors, Walmart guy, right? And I thought, what's so hard about healthcare, right? They buy some Band-Aids and stuff like that. How hard can this be? And so he sits down with me and he says, "Phil, I want to bring you in." And he says to me, "I want you to look at every single process, and I want you to catalog every software system in the entire United States healthcare network, meaning Medicaid, Medicare, all the pharmaceuticals, the distributors like Cardinal Health and McKesson, within the hospital, every single department, like purchasing, HR, IT, supply chain, you name it, cardiology, orthopedics, then the Johnson and Johnson, Cardinal Health, and the insurance companies, Blue Cross Blue Shield, so on and so forth." And so I did. So I'm out there cataloging and all this stuff, and my friends are making fun of me. They're like, "What are you doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm doing this great project. I'm looking at disparate systems." And they said, and I got my master's degree now, and I think I'm all cool. You know, I said, "I'm looking at disparate systems." And they're like, "Nobody cares." I go, "Oh, yeah, you will care one day, and you'll especially care when I get done." So I go back to the CEO. I met with him about every 2 weeks, and you just won't believe what happened in my healthcare life. It's unbelievable. I said to him, I said, "Hey, I documented that you guys just here at this hospital system, they got about 140 hospitals. You're using over 10,000 software systems off the shelf, software systems." And he says, with about a $3 billion IT spend. I mean, it's stupid. Okay. And he says, "Oh, okay." He says, "So 10,000 software systems, how many should I be using?" And I said, "My calculations say using less." He says, "What do I do with the other 1,990? I said, "We got to get rid of them." And I said, "Also, you're spending $3 billion. You probably should be spending about 50 million." So he was just dumbfounded, right? And I said, "Furthermore," and this guy had an attitude too, like Monahan, and he blew up on me. I said, "Another thing is, none of them were implemented properly, and they're not integrated together. So you basically have a hot mess on your hands. Okay. And healthcare is 35% of the whole US economy. It's basically a full-blown criminal enterprise. And it's because nobody knows what the hell's going on except for me. Because I documented every single line of code, every source system, not just the hospitals, but everyone, the government, you name it. I know where every penny of fraud's going. I know what software they use. I know who's telling them to do it, how they're doing it. I got it all sitting right here in a box. Got it all. I mean, and then he had me set up, and most people don't know what I'm about to say, but I'll say it anyways because it's kind of a secret. So,
not anymore.
Just between me and you, Simon, I'll tell you.
Of course, yeah. Shh.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he had me set up these fake companies within the big healthcare system. So I literally went out and set up fake companies, and we would run, different contracts and invoices, and in an effort to demonstrate to the board of directors and finance and auditing the amount of theft and fraud and everything was going on, because I could show them these are the real numbers. Yeah. See, they're actually billing me in this fake company, and I'm showing you the contracts, where the under the table money, everything's going. It's amazing. I went in late at night and we exchanged out, like for FedEx and UPS, they have those like 30-digit routing numbers.
Yeah.
Well, I had my own corporate routing numbers with FedEx and UPS. So I went in late at night and took those bill of ladings out, dumped them, and put mine in there. So they looked the same. So the number was different. And from, we did all kinds of crazy stuff. And then from there, I went to Loma Linda University Medical Center, which, by the way, Loma Linda University Medical Center is one of 4 blue zones in the world. And for people who don't know what blue zones are, that's where people live to be over 100 years old and they're very healthy.
Yeah.
So I got brought into Loma Linda. Phenomenal place. This is my most favorite place. Matter of fact, I wish I could live in Loma Linda, California, just so I could be close to that hospital. There's a reason people live long there. They really do care about people there. And that most people don't know this, but they're one of the few places in the world they have a giant proton accelerator underneath the hospital there. Oh yeah, the government rents it, the military, because they can't even find these proton accelerators. Loma Linda has one, and they're doing all kinds of crazy stuff there. Yeah. They
Is that a secret?
Probably it was. About 4 seconds ago. And basically everything I'm telling you today is a secret, so I hope no one hears this. So
no one watches. Don't worry.
Yeah, I told you on that previous phone call that I've had these cars parked in front of my house for years, right?
The Navigators.
I go run out like a lunatic and I bang on the window and they just take off. So I really don't know what's going on. So then,
it's healthy to be paranoid, Phil.
Yeah. So then there I did something phenomenal. They said to me at Loma Linda, they go, Phil, listen, here's the deal. We're going to send a letter out to all the suppliers and vendors, and we're going to tell them that as long as Phil Abraham is here under contract, they're to do whatever I tell them to do. So we're at that other big Catholic healthcare system. I happen to be Catholic too. I'm not beating up on the Catholics, but and Loma Linda's the Adventist run, but the Catholic healthcare system, like most of the healthcare system, they won't do anything. They fight you on everything, okay? I get to Loma Linda and they go, we're sending a letter out and everybody's got to do whatever you tell them. I'm thinking, are you kidding me? You got to be kidding me. And literally they sent these letters out. Say, hey, Phil's here. Whatever he says, we believe in him. So you got to do what he says. Well, most people don't know this, but in healthcare, truth be told, not even 1% can be driven out of the supply chain and product costs. Even though we have these big group purchasing organizations and they like to tell everyone how much money they're saving. No, they're not saving a penny. And what they do is they'll save money on one item, like IV drip bags, but they'll let the other items go up.
Yeah.
So when you look at the financials, the year-end financials, you'll notice that supply chain spend as a percentage of net patient service revenue, that's the way we judge things in healthcare, goes up every year. So they're not even saving 1%. Well, I drove 20 at the low. I had every department in the hospital. I drove 20% to 80%. Yeah. 20 to 80. Yeah, it's almost stupid. Okay. But then more importantly, and what I did was, even there, I created this off-site portal system where I had the suppliers and vendors sending me information, just like they were sending it to the hospital. But what the suppliers and vendors didn't know, here's another secret no one knows, just me and you, Simon. I asked them politely to fill in these Excel files, but I put these secret algorithms behind the Excel file that sent data back to me the way I wanted and allowed me to go into their networks and everything.
Love that.
I mean, are you kidding me? It's so stupid. Okay. So, but at the end of the day, by re-engineering disparate systems, not only did we trick everyone and drive all this cost out, we found out that it's the only known solution in healthcare where we improve patient outcomes without touching doctor, nurse, and patient. And we did it through manipulating software many, many miles away. And we improved patient outcomes. We didn't let the doctors, nurses, patients, nobody knew what I was doing. And
That's amazing.
What I told the board there at Loma Linda was, it's my thesis that says it's this crazy garbage software that's causing your doctors and nurses to overwork themselves and run around like crazy people. I'm going to move all that out of their life.
Have you spoken to the NHS over here at all? Because I feel like
Well,
we
I
can help
want to, but I didn't know anyone over there. I got great reference letters from Dr. Paul over there, and it's really a phenomenal thing that I've done for humanity just in that healthcare space. And then kind of along the way, and by the way, anyways, I'll switch. So then I started getting invited to Washington, D.C. because I started to realize that I could stop hackers. So everyone's worried about hackers, and that's why you see me on LinkedIn. I'm constantly saying, no wonder why all these CISOs and everybody's having problems, because they're using this software that's inherently designed to not work.
Yeah.
So you got all these people going, oh, wow, I don't know why it was just hacked. Okay. Like, oh, Uber's over there. They had a massive hack, second time in 6 months. And they're over there going, I wonder how this happened, and everybody has these SOC centers and, everybody's all buttoned up with their certifications and licenses. And the truth of the matter is they're using garbage software. Of course they're being hacked. I've been talking about this. I went for this. I've illustrated it. I've documented it. And it's here you go, right? So I started to get invited to Washington, D.C. And this is where I started to overstep a little bit. Now I thought I was a big puffer fish. I thought I was a big puffer fish, right?
I've been there, Phil. Yeah.
What?
I've been there. I know how that is.
Yeah, I thought I was a big tough guy. And I just had to check something on my phone. But anyways, so I started talking to them, the 3-letter agencies and stuff, and I just told them, I said, my work in complexity science, which by the way I left out. So my work in cataloging disparate systems.
We need to talk about the complexity science bit as well.
And don't forget, I forgot, I never sent you this secret video I have. It's only about 35 seconds long that shows how I can take the 7 layers of the OSI stack of the internet and manipulate software to do things it wasn't originally designed to do.
I really like that video.
I've had it for like 8 years. I got this super cool. You will freak out. I'll send it to you. You can send it to the whole world if you want.
I will.
Yeah.
I can't keep a secret either.
I had to make a video, Simon, because I got tired of explaining it to people. So I paid someone to do this really cool video. And so The complexity science, by the way, and this is phenomenal. I've been using complexity science for over 30 years. It's just phenomenal what can be done. So
Before we go on to that, we've just had a question in the audience, so I want to bring that
good,
in.
I'll take a
Thanks,
sip
Gareth.
of my water.
Yeah, take a sip of your water and I'll read it out. So it says, with the disruption and impact of the past few years to the supply chain in all industries by the global pandemic, geopolitical conflict, and a very uncertain economy, has this ultimately forced organizations into becoming the most resilient versions of themselves operationally, but more vulnerable in a cyber stance? Good question,
I
Gareth.
love that question.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that question came to me. Love it. Love. Okay. Um, again, that's a phenomenal question because they're not going to like the answer, but it's a phenomenal question. The question that people aren't going to want to hear is there's a disaster brewing of biblical proportions. And, this is my world. I get to say with full confidence, I'm a full-blown expert in this area. Okay. And, not only am I a world-class expert in supply chain, also a world-class expert in technology and quantum cybersecurity. And I've been working on this for 100 years. So this is my space. Supply chains, all the experts keep telling everyone this is so they can keep selling garbage software. They say all the hackers come in through what they call disgruntled employees.
Or
You
social
always hear that.
engineering, or yeah.
Yeah, disgruntled employees, right? And I always said to myself, well, that's not right, because all my buddies that get pissed off at work, they go out and drink a beer, and then they drive by and maybe kick the sign at the building, right? Or they throw a beer can at the building. That's what most people do, right? And
Yeah.
quite frankly, how many people do you know that you've worked with your whole life said, you know what? I'm going to dive into the code here at my company and I'm going to hack everything because I'm mad at my boss. Okay.
Yeah.
It
No,
doesn't
I mean
happen.
the only converse I'd say to that is at the moment we've seen an uptick in malicious actors reaching out to employees of companies and offering them financial incentives to part with
Yeah,
information.
I
Yeah.
know. And guess what? That reinforces why they want people to spend even more money on garbage software. But that's not what my research shows. So my research shows that almost all the hackers are coming actually through the supply chain by way of the suppliers and vendors. For example, General Motors, okay? General Motors. Not only do they have a rough time creating a line of sight into their global supply chain, a little bit of a problem, okay? But there's over 1 million holes where hackers can come in to get to the car. And this goes for Ford, Chrysler, General Motors, 1 million holes. So you're driving a car down the freeway, the hackers will drive your car off the road. And the reason there's all this is kind of twofold. The software, and especially the cybersecurity software, is not designed to protect. And the suppliers and vendors say, we don't want to increase our culture to implement cybersecurity. So they haven't implemented cybersecurity. So it's wide open, okay? Wide open. But the truth of the matter is, and what I try to explain to GM and whoever I can talk to, is with the right solution, which I happen to have, but with the right solution, you not only can eliminate hacking and minimize those problems, but you can reduce 30% of your supply chain costs out. So these suppliers and vendors say, well, it's going to make our supply chain costs go up. But the truth of the matter is you can make supply chain costs go down, which will make your suppliers more profitable,
Yeah.
and will make the company more profitable and the product safer. So see, my message is different.
You're cutting out unnecessary middlemen, which has been one of the most, I suppose, base
And
facts of
people don't
business for
understand
decades and
that
hundreds of
there's
years.
there's solutions that I am specifically putting together that are incredible. Okay, just incredible, and that you know maybe we'll get into, like polymorphic random number generators and, solving for poly-RNG, solving for compression, solving for camouflage, and putting all that together and speeding up networks. And for example, currently the gold standard is AES 256.
Yeah.
So everyone's like, oh, wow, one day when I grow up, I want to be AES 256, right? Well, I was on a call recently with a 3-letter agency in Northrop, and on the bantering back and forth, they said, hey, we want AES 512. And there was dead silence. And there was all these PhDs and all these brainiacs, smartest people in the world, okay, on the phone. So everybody's thinking we can't even get on board with 256 and they're asking for 512. So I raise my hand in a nice way. And I say, hey, hate to take the punch bowl away, but I said, our AES is trillions with a T, trillions of trillions times AES of 56. Yeah, that's right. And we took that little silly math and we threw it in the blockchain to have, and I'm involved with, all this different stuff, but we actually took those powerful algorithms that gives you AES trillions of trillions times 256, and we stuck blockchain. If you want, you can have the powerful quantum encryption on a blockchain that's so easy to use. You can connect to any disparate system in the world in less than 10 minutes with 3 clicks. I mean, think how stupid this is. 3 clicks, click, click, click. Wait 10 minutes, go to the bathroom, grab a cup of coffee, come back, and you got the best blockchain with the best quantum encryption in the world right now today.
Well, let's take a step back and talk about blockchain, because whilst it's an amazing invention, it's gone spectacularly wrong in some instances. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, you know what? I'm so glad that you said it's gone wrong, because I'll tell you. So there's this founder of a blockchain. He's got the 5 best patents in the world. And I mean, like, let's say you want to go start a blockchain, you would say, wow, I would like to have these 5 patents. Well, there's some guy that already has those, okay? So he said, Phil, will you come join our team? Because every time we go to roll out our blockchain, people are screaming about their messed up supply chain. So they're afraid to go to the blockchain, okay?
Yeah.
And I said, no, I'm not going to join your team. So 4 times they called me. 1, 2, 3, 4. And they said, at least tell us why you won't join our team. And I said, I can't stand blockchain. I'm a blockchain like God man. Okay. And I said, I don't like blockchain. And you remember, I spent my whole life tearing apart companies, software, everything, right? That's all I know how to do is blow stuff up. And so this guy's chain, I can't touch it. It's got like steel walls around it, okay? And I can destroy everything I get my hands on, right? And he said, but tell us, why won't you join our team? And I said, well, the biggest problem with blockchains is they don't understand that the real information is far, far away in these disparate systems. And I'm an expert in disparate systems. And I know that your blockchain's not going to produce any good results because it's going to take you forever and a day to connect to this stupid stuff, right? Yeah. He says, oh, I wish you would have told me that. Because of my 5 patents, I have 1. I mean, I have 5. And I want to talk about this orchestrated smart contracts they have too. But anyways, my 1 is on interoperability. And I said, what do you mean? So look at me, I'm all cool and everything. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Somebody snuck something by me. Did I fall asleep at the wheel? Says, yeah, you can connect anything with 3 clicks in less than 10 minutes. I go, you got to be kidding me. I go, anything? He says, anything. I thought to myself, are you kidding? With my knowledge, my vast knowledge is the disparate system. Oh yeah, and don't let me forget about complexity science.
I won't.
And I said, you can take that mountain of stuff that I've grabbed and you can make me get to it in 3 clicks in less than 10 minutes. He said, yeah. I go, I'm on. I'm bored. Sign me up. And the very first thing I did was I called the doctor, this Dr. Al, who's one of the top 3 mathematicians in the world. I said, Dr. Al, would you put your algorithm inside this blockchain so we can have the only quantum encrypted blockchain in the world on top of everything else going on there? Yeah, just like that. Boom. Now there we go. It's phenomenal, right? And it's just, so the reason blockchains fail is, first off, they don't understand this business about disparate systems and connectivity, right? People say, oh, you got a blockchain? I don't know what to do with it, right? Or how do I get my big giant organization to jump over that wall onto your blockchain? And that's pretty much why these blockchains are failing. Just Google any blockchain project in the world. At the end of the day, you'll see that it's not working right, okay? And so, and your off-the-shelf software people like Oracle and SAP and all them, they need to really be concerned, because what I'm creating is going to force the CFOs of companies to make a decision. They got to say, I can get 30% of my supply chain costs driven out in unmatched cybersecurity and just throw this stuff over to this blockchain that Phil likes. Or I can keep paying millions of dollars to these ERP systems, but it's, Salesforce, SAP, and Oracle, and frankly, watch my costs go up, right? Or I can follow Phil's pathway, go over and do all kinds of things like improve patient outcomes, make companies secure, insane amount of cost, improve profitability. And that's what they're touching and laying on that, my complexity, if your audience is ready for it.
Let's talk about let's talk about the complexity science part, Phil,
oh,
because
okay.
we haven't dug into that yet, have we? And that
Yeah.
was one of the things that really astounded me when we first spoke.
Yeah. So I stumbled into complexity science actually right after I invented this Manugistics, which was called KSM, Camera Schedule Manager. So first thing I want to say is complexity science is ideally defined as being able to predict 12 months out, let's say, or even longer, with north of 90% accuracy. So in other words, before a room full of board of directors, a really sophisticated management, before they even know that they may have to make a decision in 12 months, I can make that decision now, today. That's complexity science at 80,000 feet, right? And so then, I mean, it's very dangerous stuff, okay? When you think about what impact it would have on investment, banking, customers, sales, things like that, what I can do with this complexity science. So for example, a big distribution warehouse company, Walmart, let's just say Walmart, okay? And, they're struggling with cost and all these warehouses and trucker, Amazon drivers, truckers, cost, people, overhead, So what they say at Amazon and what they say at Walmart, and, they say, well, we don't know what the busy shopper is going to come in and buy tomorrow. So how can we staff and plan? Well, I said, I can tell you what the shopper is going to buy 12 months from now. And I did it for many years. When Kmart was number one, I went to my boss for this one region of the United States. And I said, I'm going to tell you every day, 120 days from now, how many boxes of stuff, whether it's baseball gloves, laundry detergent, whatever they sell in the store, I'm going to tell you exactly. And so 120 days from now, you're going to be able to staff your warehouse, your overhead, your drivers, everything. Can you imagine how amazing that is?
And
Okay.
what fascinated me was how you could do that and all the data
Yeah.
that you'd need
Well,
to do that.
I know it's insane, right? And then, by the way, just as another example, let's take healthcare. Well, when you're deep inside a hospital, every day in the morning, they have a phone call that goes out to management that says, today's census, they call it. And
Yeah.
that's just kind of what showed up over the night, how many people in an emergency room. So, let's say it's an 800 bed hospital. They may say today's census is 750, which means 750 of the beds are occupied. Okay. And then they scramble. Emergency room scrambling, nurses are scrambling. It's basically chaos.
Yeah.
Okay. And on top of that, they're using software that they don't even know what's coming from the supply chain, And at the end of the day, these doctors and nurses have to deal with a sick patient. They didn't know what was going to happen when it came to work, and nor can they find products. Can't find these products. Okay. Healthcare is the only industry, by the way, I want to say this. Here in the States, if you go to a Target store, they have these red boxes. And let's say there's not a price on a certain item. You can take that item, hold it under the scanner, and it'll tell you $12.95. That's because they have a master item list.
Yeah.
Healthcare, 35% of the whole US economy, there's no master item list. I don't care what anyone tells you. They can't tell you how many are in a box. Matter of fact, if you go to one hospital, they can have 12 different prices for a same box of Band-Aids in the hospital because everybody's keying it in wrong. And it's all, and so there's no master item list. So getting back to hospital, so 6 months from now, with north of 90% accuracy, I can tell a hospital, just like I could tell a Walmart, well, this is what your patient mix is going to be. You're going to have 9 pregnant women, 6 gunshot wounds, 4 gallbladders, so on and so forth. And then they can plan doctors, nurse, overhead for that 6-month event before it happens. And furthermore, it's going to improve patient outcomes because now maybe that particular day is going to be a big gallbladder day, right? Well, then supply chain, they can plan 6 months in advance. They have gallbladder trays and stuff like that. Stay in the building, on the 3rd floor, right where the gallbladder doctors are. All this stuff can be done in advance. And what happens then? We already proved this out at Loma Linda. Patient outcomes improve because the doctor's prepped, the nurses prepped, they're not getting jerked around by everyone. So it's really what should happen. Doctor, nurse, patient coming together to solve issues. So that's just some examples of complexity science. And then you can take it up a level. You can manage governments. You can manage, different variables with the government, with militaries, with social unrest, with the banking system, money system, why is money being moved around? And so you got the complexity science, the knowledge of disparate systems, the knowledge on quantum encryption, blockchain. You start to put this thing together and you got magic on your hands.
Well, look,
And cars parked in front of your house. What?
We've got and navigators all along the front lawn. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
we've got 2 minutes left.
Geez.
It's been one of the most insightful and engaging discussions I think I've ever had on here, and I want to take the last few minutes to throw it back to you for you to let people know if you're looking for any opportunities at the moment, what you're looking for. I'm going to drop your business CloudFace's link in the chat if anyone wants to take a look at what you're up to. I hope that's the right one. If not, you better tell me quick.
And I'm on LinkedIn.
And let me get your LinkedIn link as well. But please, while I'm because I can't multitask. Clearly, I'm 50. If you could just tell everyone what opportunities you're looking for.
Yeah, what I'm looking for is I'm currently building out. So for everyone concerned about ESG, environmental, social, and governance, I'm building out phenomenal tools for that. And even if it's in government or the food sector or banking and finance. So I'm looking for all that ESG work. I'm looking for all cybersecurity headaches so that we can go out and fix those. And of course, phenomenal supply chain projects. That's a real sweet spot of mine. And if anyone's interested in complexity science and predictive analytics on steroids, and they want to do the right thing, reach out to me so that, at a minimum, I can talk you through some tough decisions you might have to make. And at a best case scenario, you might retain me and my company, and we could go do some wonderful things. All of my projects turn into wonderful things.
It seems like you've got enough inquiries coming in as it is.
Yeah, sorry, I should have turned my ringer off.
No, you're right. Look, Phil, thank you so much for coming on and sharing today. We haven't agreed terms yet, but I'm going to say it out loud. I'm super excited to be hopefully working with you next year to try and drive some of these amazing solutions to the market. So I've dropped Phil's LinkedIn and his website in the chat. But if you can't get hold of Phil, reach out to me and I'll hunt him down like an animal and find him for you to have a chat. But look, Phil, it's been amazing. Let's catch up straight after Christmas. And
Okay, thank you so much, and thank
no,
all
not
your viewers and everyone. Love it.
well. I was just going to say, again, everyone in the chat, from Rebecca, Gareth, Marilyn, Richard. There's just so many of you in there that I can't scroll through the names. Musa, JJ, Carey. Thank you so much for tuning in. It really does make a
Yeah.
difference. We've got 2 more of these. We're back tomorrow. I haven't got my list in front of me, so please check out the YouTube page to see who's on. And then we're back again for the final one before Christmas on Friday. Then we've got a few day break, but then we're back again with our O'Kane on, I believe, the 28th of December before the new year. So, Phil, again, thank you so much for your time. Everyone out there, I'll play out with a little teaser and see you all soon.
Thank you. Bye.